Okay, I'm finally gonna do it. I'm gonna read Fourth Wing. I actually own 2 copies of this book because in the middle of the year, like end of June, early July, I was actually gifted copies by 2 different people. But I obviously haven't read it yet. I've been a little bit intimidated, one because it is so hyped, and it feels like it's finally starting to die down maybe a little bit. So, you know, clearly I can't do things when everyone's doing it, because who would I be then? So it's intimidating because of like how many people love this book, but I'm also concerned that I could be one of those people who don't like it, because I am aware that I can sometimes be a little bit too critical for my own good when it comes to reading, like in terms of my own enjoyment. Sometimes I can't help but pick up on problems and things like that. And because I obviously have seen a bunch of people who didn't like this book, even if they are perhaps the minority, I'm a little concerned that I could be in that camp. Although some people, you know, some of my close friends who we don't always have the same reading taste, but we do often have very similar reading tastes in a number of ways, have really liked it. So that maybe gives me a little bit more confidence. But yeah, I've been a little bit worried about reading this, but I realized that the audiobook is also on Scribd, so that might be a way to tackle it while I'm going about this week doing cleaning and various things around the house, since I'm not at work this week. But yeah, so we're finally gonna do it. I think, let's see, what do I actually know about this book? Dragons. I think the main character is disabled. I think she wanted to do something else, but her mother forced her to be a dragon rider. The dragons can speak, and there's like a romance within this book. That might be it. That might be all I really know about this book. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'm a little bit nervous. We'll see whether I like it or not, but we're gonna do it. This week, we are going to do it. We're gonna read this in our book. We might have a problem. I think I already hate the narration of the audiobook, which could make that a painful experience. But I don't know that I want to sit down and read that long book right now, because I have other things I need to do, you know? We're gonna push through and see how we go. But it could affect my enjoyment more. My cargo pants just arrived, which I mostly bought these to probably wear with one of my PAX cosplays. Since I was making an order anyway, I did also get another Sailor Moon dress, but this dress is definitely tighter than the other dresses I have from this brand. I'm a little worried about the top half, not gonna lie, but like, it's very cute otherwise. This book is really doing the, oh my gosh, he's so tall thing, which I just personally hate, that whole like emphasis on how big a man is. It's so common, but I also just really hate it. So sad. If y'all saw some of the precarious situations I put my phone in to film sometimes, yeah, it's frightening. But I'm a little ways in, and I'm intrigued enough. I'm not like disliking it, but there's definitely elements that make me go, Like, it very much has the vibes of like a YA book, but they're just talking about sex a lot. Like, that's kind of the vibe, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's not a criticism, it's just, I don't know if that's the vibe I'm personally looking for. And also, not loving, like, you know, also not a big fan of men who think they know better than women when it comes to decisions about themselves and their lives. So the best friend's getting on my nerves. And then also this like instant attraction she has to like the enemy, that situation, and how the like fight scene was playing out when they had to like practice fighting together. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that right now, because it is questionable. Like, I don't know, but I think this is also just, I struggle with this kind of stuff in general sometimes, because I'm that person who I mean, maybe TMI about me, but I don't tend to really be attracted to people like to that extent like that on meeting them. If that, like, I have to like someone as a person to like to that to be anyways. Yeah, I don't really relate to instant attraction if I don't know enough about the person or I don't like a person. Like, if I do not like a person, I do not like who they are as a person, like, I'm not going to be attracted to them. That's just how it is at the end of the day. So I don't know. And also, yeah, I don't love the audiobook narration, which isn't really helping, but like, as much as those are problems that I'm kind of having, like, as I said, I'm not like disliking the experience, and it's going to be entirely up to like where the rest of the book goes, I guess, for me. Yeah. I'm up to chapter 24, and okay, I'm kind of hooked. Like, obviously not without things to like criticize. It's not like perfect, but am I having a lot of fun with it now? Yes. Yes. So we'll see how we go from here, but I guess it's definitely turned around for me. And as much as like the instant kind of attraction and stuff was bothering me a little, am I also often kind of weak for the like bad character? Not that he's like actually bad, but that character who can be who's like soft and cares about like that one person sometimes. So I finished this. Was this an objectively great book? No. Does it have problems, inconsistencies, things that just don't make sense? Yes. And at this point, I think there are plenty of people who have started to talk about all those things as points of why they kind of hate this book. So I'm not going to rehash too much of it beyond like the couple of things I might have mentioned while I was reading it. Because did I, at the end of the day, end up really enjoying my reading experience with this book? Yes. So apparently a book doesn't have to be good. It can just be a fun ride sometimes. Who knew? I feel like in a number of ways, this book kind of harkens back to like the types of YA we were reading like 10 to 15 years ago, but with like some smut sprinkled in. Like, it's a very similar vibe, but also it just ended up being quite addictive in the reading experience, and it was just fun following along with what's going on. And as I said, there's definitely like inconsistencies and things that don't totally make sense with some of the things that played out or how they played out or what's going on. But I feel like if you don't think too hard about it, like, it can just be a fun ride. So even though I don't think this is like one of the best books, like all the people who are saying that, like, oh my gosh, this is one of the best books ever, the best book I've ever read. Like, obviously I don't agree with that. But I'm still gonna probably rate it 4 stars, since like I primarily rate on enjoyment, and I just ended up having a lot of fun with this book, which I'm honestly kind of surprised about, because like, if you can't get along with that kind of vibe of, you know, the types of books we used to read, or the books that, you know, aren't perfect books, but they're just fun if you can look past some things, like, obviously you're not gonna like it. And I'm kind of surprised that I ended up liking it, because that's what I was concerned about going in, that I knew there were some things that weren't gonna add up or that weren't gonna be fantastic about it, but I still just managed to kind of get hooked in. So I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it because like nobody really wants to be hating the things they're reading, like, do we? So I'm glad I enjoyed it. It's possibly, as I said, it's definitely not one of the best books, but is it one of the books I've just had the most fun with this year? Like, maybe. Possibly. That's it. I finished Fourth Wing and I actually really enjoyed it. As much as when I started it, I was not enjoying it. Like, you might have kind of gotten the vibe that when I first started reading this book, I was not loving it and I was having a lot of problems. But yeah, I got swept up in the story and the characters as much as some of them I still hate. What's his name? Is it Dane, the best friend? Hated him through the entirety of the book, even from the very beginning. And I know, like, the love interest has his own problems. He definitely has his own problems. So, as I said, it's not a perfect book, and all of the characters have problems, really. Like, they're all flawed characters, who make questionable decisions, but it was just fun. It was a fun ride. So I guess this was a success in that respect. Yeah, if you want to hear a bit further about all of the problems, as I said, there are plenty of people who have done rant reviews. I think what I watched recently was Maddie's. I love Maddie. She loves a good rant. And I didn't agree with everything she said, but there are some things I agreed with, but I still managed to enjoy it despite those problems. So there we go. I read a book. Look at me go. I mean, I read a lot of books. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I read this book that has been so hyped for so long now. Now no one needs to keep asking me whether I've read this book and what I think about it, because I've read it. Here it is. I'm done. And that's it. That's the video. So, TTFN, and I'll see you next time. Also, let me know what you thought